What up? 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 What up, man? It's been years since I've been up on here, man. But I'm back. Hopefully y'all can hear me. Hopefully y'all can see me. We not having no goofy ass technical difficulties. And we can go ahead and get this good boxing talk, man. Man. So I am King David, formerly known as D Dynamite. King David is my name, you know what I mean? King David happens to also be my game. Again, formerly known as D Dynamite. My boxing channel is Box or Die, Box capital X, Box dash X or dash Die. That's the boxing channel. And really the name of the game here, man, is to kick some real big boy boxing shit. You know what I mean? Shoot the shit, man. Have a good time, and really just talk boxing, man. And you know, that's exactly how it's gonna go down here. You know what I mean? Right now, I'm live on YouTube. That originally was not the plan. I was gonna go live from another streaming service, but I'm having some issues and shit with it. So I ended up just going live straight from YouTube. Well, best believe we're going to get all that together by the next stream, which, by the way, next stream will be Friday at 11 o'clock. Late Night Boxing Talk will be the name of that game. And I also will be here on Tuesdays at 6. All right. We're going to call it. We got to come up with a gangsta ass name for it. Okay. We got to come up with a real thugged out name for the boxing talk that we do here. Talk your shit boxing. That sounds like something we could call it. Talk your shit boxing is gonna go down on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock, where we get to shoot the shit. And really, like I said, man, the name of the game here is really just to have a good time, man. It's been a long time since I've been on this YouTube shit. Feels good. I'm ready to talk boxing, ready to chop it up with y'all. Ain't a whole lot of people in the building right now, but that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Because we'll work our way back up to it, or we'll work our way up past where we were, and sky's the limit. But really, man, it's, you know, again, the name of the game is to shoot the shit, talk boxing, man. So yeah, you see the name of the video, man. Today, the topic of discussion is the welterweight division. So I feel like the welterweight division in itself is really a headache. It's really a headache to just even really like saying welterweight, like a big vein, a big fucking vein just went all the way across, like all the way across my face, just saying and thinking about the welterweights right now. This division should have been undisputed so long ago. I mean, it should have been undisputed so long ago. And here we are in 2021, and it's still not undisputed. There's still no undisputed. We're nowhere close to undisputed. And I don't see us in the foreseeable future even being close to undisputed. So the prospect of that is scary. That's a scary prospect, to to really think that we have a division here in boxing, and it's not just the welterweights, there's other divisions, but for today we're talking about the welterweight division. We have a division, the welterweight division here in boxing, who there's hasn't been any undisputed champion in God knows how long, and it's not even close to having an undisputed champion right now until God knows when. You know what I mean? So let's talk about it. Let's get into these welterweights. So here's the thing, man. The welterweights have been a very heated topic among boxing fans. But, you know, I feel like in order to properly discuss the welterweights, you got to go back. You got to go back a little bit. And I'm not talking about Jack Dempsey days or any kind of shit like that. I'm not talking about the 1930s or any. I'm not talking about Sugar Ray Robinson or anything. I'm talking about we got to go back a few years ago to when all the problems started, okay, in modern, like the most modern of times, okay? And the problems all started, okay, from, I hate to say it, as big of a fan I am, the problems all started from when Floyd Mayweather was the champion at 147 pounds. That's it. That's just what it is. That's when everything started. All right. If you don't agree with that, then clearly you don't know enough about the sport in order to really talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So really, you should really just be shutting the fuck up and just listening to what the fuck I'm saying. All right. But that's really when those issues really started in boxing, when Floyd Mayweather was, I believe at that time, and this was about 3 years ago, he was the WBC and the WBA welterweight champion. I believe he had the WBC and WBA championships at 147, and he also had them at 154, okay? So here's the thing. If you got two belts in two divisions and you only fight once, maybe twice a year, clearly shit is getting fucked up behind you, okay? Clearly shit is going to be fucked up. Why? Because what do they issue mandatories when, like, once a year? And then on top of that, you have the sanctioning bodies who are hella corrupt, all right, and don't believe in the idea of enforcing mandatories on people that pay them money, cash money. Okay, they're not stripping Floyd Mayweather of no belt. It's just not happening. Okay, because you can't enforce your sanction fees, you can't enforce all them bullshit charges that you put on the fighters in order to wave around that green or black belt that you have. Okay, which these days is really meaningless, but that's for another video. Okay, so really what we have is motherfuckers like Floyd Mayweather and motherfuckers like Manny Pacquiao holding on to the belts are holding up the entire division. So here's the thing, right? Floyd Mayweather goes through his stance, okay? He does his thing. He fights who he wants to fight. He maneuvers how he wants to maneuver. He's Floyd Mayweather. I don't have shit to say about it, okay? Floyd Mayweather has proven himself, okay? Do I believe in that bullshit? Fuck no, I don't, okay? But at the same time, I'm not going to say that, fuck that. I will say, if Floyd Mayweather has the belt, then Floyd Mayweather needs to be fighting his mandatories and the people that are directly below him in order to give those people shots at the title, period, okay? I was going to say some shit that I didn't even really fully align with. That said, at the time, Floyd Mayweather had the WBA and the WBC championship belts. And at the time, the person in line for a shot at those belts was Keith one-time Thurman. So here's the thing. We're gonna fast forward. We're not gonna fast forward, but real quick, let's just go ahead and throw this shit in the air. Hurt people hurt people. Hurt people hurt people. Okay. So while Floyd Mayweather has Keith Thurman waiting, okay, wishing and hoping and waiting, okay, like that fucking commercial. What was that? A cereal commercial? Wishing and hoping and praying. He has Floyd Mayweather wishing and hoping and praying. I mean, Keith Thurman wishing and hoping and praying for a shot at that title. Meanwhile, he's doing his thing. So now Keith Thurman is observing this behavior by Floyd Mayweather and believes that maybe that's the way that he should conduct business. Now, here's the thing. I actually don't think that Keith Thurman fully embodied those ideals. I feel like certain circumstances led up to those things happening. But I do believe that while Keith Thurman was I do believe some of his tactics came from Floyd Mayweather. And I do believe that all the fighters up under Keith Thurman observed what Keith Thurman was doing as well as what Mayweather was doing and picked up those habits, pretty much, is what the fuck is going on. All right, so here's the thing. All right, so now we got all that bullshit up out the way, okay? Mayweather fights Canelo. He drops his belt. Keith Thurman is now elevated to the WBA super champion, okay? Cool. Keith Thurman is the super champion. He fights a few people. Shit's going pretty well. He's knocking motherfuckers out. He's one time, okay? And then all of a sudden while this is going on, Danny Garcia comes up from 140 pounds and picks up that good WBC belt. All right. So, cool. Danny Garcia has the WBC belt. Keith Thurman has the WBA belt. And Sean Porter picks up the IBF belt. Okay. Now, after Sean Porter picks up that IBF belt, he go ahead and he fights Kell Brook. Loses to Kell Brook. After he loses to Kell Brook, then wants to fight Keith Thurman, which is some bullshit because there's definitely a direct parallel. You know, Keith Thurman put out a video recently where he was killing Bob Arum and shit. Rightfully so. Bob Arum definitely deserves all that smoke and more. But he put out a video killing Bob Arum. But in that video, he was talking about how he wanted the Sean Porter fight a year before the fight actually came. So, I mean, that's kind of exactly what I mean. He wanted that fight at that time. At that time, Sean Porter was the IBF champion. But it wasn't until Sean Porter lost his belt that he was okay with the idea of fighting Keith Thurman, in which the fight actually happened at that point. So Keith Thurman fights Sean Porter. All right. Keith Thurman beats Sean Porter. Keith Thurman is now, in many people's eyes, the man at 147 pounds post Mayweather. So here we are. So meanwhile, Danny's sitting on this belt, this WBC belt that he picked up. All right. And now next up in line is Danny Garcia versus Keith Thurman. That fight happens. Thurman wins. Thurman's now the unified champion, WBC and WBA champion. Okay. Fast forward. Earl Spence. While this is happening, I'm sorry. Had a brain fart for a second. So while this is happening, Earl Spence observes all of this happening. Okay. I believe, I'm not sure exactly what year this was. I don't know if it's 2015, 2016. Earl Spence is watching Woodworks. Earl Spence is an up-and-coming challenger and wants all the smoke, as all up-and-coming challengers should want. That's how you get your name out there. You call out the champions. You call out the big boys in the division in order to get your name out there, and also possibly get the fight. But even though they call out these people, they don't actually expect to get the fights because they already know they're not necessarily in the position to warrant that fight happening. Okay. But nevertheless, they call out the champions. Okay, they try to look as impressive as they could possibly look in the fights that they do have, in order to garner enough attention and enough people getting on, jumping on the bandwagon in order to get those fights. Okay. Errol Spence is now in this position. He's now an up and coming welterweight. He's now calling out Keith Thurman. He sees the unification with Danny Garcia. He knows Keith Thurman is the top man of the division. Errol Spence is now calling out Keith Thurman. Fine. That's what you're supposed to do. Fast forward 6 months, a year. Earl's right there. Earl gets a shot at Kell Brook for the IBF belt. Earl fights Kell Brook. The fight goes 10 rounds. Earl stops Kell Brook in the 10th round. Okay? At the same time this is happening, as Keith just won his belt, about 3-6 months before that, Keith Thurman is now in midst of a surgery. Okay? So Errol Spence just got his IBF belt. Keith Thurman just won his WBC title from Danny Garcia. Okay? So now it's only but a few welterweights that people want to see fight. Errol Spence and Keith Thurman. And then, while this is all going on, we have Terrence Crawford, who also, around the same time, just wandered into the division. Okay? So we got Errol Spence, we got Keith Thurman, we got Terrence Crawford. Okay? Sound like very familiar names, right? This is about 3 years ago. Okay, so now here's what's going on now, right? Keith Thurman gets injured. A lot of people don't buy the injury, which is very interesting that people wouldn't buy the injury. But Keith Thurman gets injured. He doesn't fight anyone, okay? And here's the other thing that's weird as fuck to me, right? When people say, well, Keith Thurman was ducking. Earl was calling him out. Well, Keith Thurman actually fought Danny Garcia, didn't fight for, what was it, a year and a half, 2 years? A year and a half, he didn't fight. So if you're not fighting, how are you ducking someone? Now you could say, well, if Keith Thurman was to fight this person and then fight that person and then fight this person, you could say, well, are you ducking? But for him to not fight, meaning you're not active, you're not fighting anyone, how are you ducking? You can't, you're not fighting. You haven't moved on. You haven't moved anywhere. You're in the same spot. So how are you ducking? How was any of that happening? It doesn't make any logical sense that you could say someone's ducking when in all actuality, they haven't been fighting. Does that really make sense to you? If I have a job and on my job, my boss or somebody asks me to do something, okay? And I just don't do it. I do everything except that thing that my boss told me to do. All right? I'm avoiding that task. I'm avoiding it. I'm ducking it. But if I don't show up to work, if I don't show up to work because I'm sick or I'm injured, you can say whatever the fuck you want to do, say whatever the fuck you want to say about me not being at work. You can say, well, he's faking sick, he's faking the injury, he could have came to work. I probably could have came to work, but I didn't come to work for whatever reason, okay? But the point is, I'm not working. So I'm not gonna not work to avoid a task at work. I'm not gonna not get my paycheck so I can avoid a task at work. This is my job. This is how I get paid. My livelihood. Okay, I might have enough saved up to live for a few weeks or a month or 4 months, whatever. But I need my paychecks. I need to get paid. If I don't fight, I don't get paid. Now, if I was fighting and I wasn't fighting Earl Spence and I was getting paid, that would be another story. But if I'm not fighting, I'm not getting paid. My career is not progressing. I'm not active on social media. I'm not growing anywhere. Nothing's happening with my career. How was that ducking? I really need to understand that. How was that ducking? Where am I running when I'm not fighting anyone? I really need for somebody to answer that shit. And I know no one will be able to. But it's all good, though. We'll move the fuck on from that. Okay, but here's the thing, right? Oh, well, I'm not even going to go with the here's the thing. So Keith Thurman's out of commission. Let's continue down our history. Keith Thurman's out of commission. Earl Spence has now, by default, let's make sure we understand that, by default, become the man at 147 pounds because he's with the PBC, and the PBC welterweights are promoted a little bit better than all the other fighters with all the other promotional companies. Now, when I say the man, let's elaborate on what the man means, because some of you motherfuckers are going to interpret that all kinds of different ways, and you really don't need to. Let's be very specific. When I say the man, I don't mean the person with the best resume. I don't mean the most skilled fighter. I don't mean the best. I don't mean any of that shit. I mean the person that's the best promoted, okay? The most heavily promoted fighter at that division, which happens to be Earl Spence. By default, after Keith Thurman went inactive, okay? All right, that's where we are now. So now, Keith Thurman recovers from his injury. Keith Thurman is ready for a comeback. It's been a year and a half. It's been a year and a half, I don't know, maybe 2 years almost, since the last time Keith Thurman was in the ring. The next opponent that the fans want Keith Thurman to fight is Earl Spence. Keith Thurman, after a year and a half, 2-year layoff, decides that he's not ready for Earl Spence at this particular point in his career, coming off a year and a half, 2-year layoff. And decides it would behoove him to take a tune-up fight after that long a layoff and an injury. I really want to understand what's so hard for people to understand. I really want to understand how that situation in people's minds translates to ducking. I really would like to understand that. I really would like to understand how people come to the conclusions that they come. Wait, I know. There are people out there who push these false narratives, talking all kind of bull ass motherfucking shit in order to push certain fighters. Okay? It is what it is. That's why I felt like I needed to come the fuck back, because I feel like there's a lot of misinformation and bullshit that's floating around out there in the boxing stratosphere. And there needs to be more people like me. There needs to be more people who can objectively look at a situation and call the shit fairly. You know what I mean? And look, at the end of the day, I'm a black man. You can see it. You can see it in my face. I'm a motherfucking black man. I'm a nigga. Fuck you talking about? I know I'm a nigga. I'm loyal to my race all day, every fucking day. All right? And I'm not one of these right is right, wrong is wrong motherfuckers either. Okay? But I'm also somebody who's gonna call it like I see it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna tell you no bullshit. I think, no, you know what? Scratch the first two. Maybe I might lie to you. But I ain't gonna tell you no bullshit and talk to you like you stupid. I'm not gonna talk to you. If I'm gonna lie to you, it's gonna be an elaborate lie. It's gonna be a lie that is believable. You're gonna be able to. I'm gonna be able to back my lie with some legitimate shit. I'm not just gonna fucking lie to you and pretend like you're an idiot. I'm gonna tell you a lie that makes sense. But a lot of these dudes out here, they just gonna lie to you and act like you're dumb and you don't know shit. Like you can't fucking go on Google and just Google what the fuck is going on with the welterweights in the welterweight division. So, I mean, you know, it is what it is. But let's move on. Let's move on. You know what I mean? Let's keep this shit going. You know what I mean? So, all right. So Keith Thurman at this point in history, because we're going down, for the people that just came in, we're going down memory lane with the welterweights, because you got to go down memory lane in order to properly discuss what the fuck is going on right now with welterweights. Okay? I'm not about to go down a long ass story, but we just rehashing shit, and then we giving the equivalencies. All right, so here we are right now. We have Keith Thurman coming off an injury. He decides to take a tune-up fight. Okay? Josecito Lopez. He fights Josecito Lopez. He beats Josecito Lopez pretty easily. After he beats Josecito Lopez, he has the option to fight someone else. Okay? Anyone else. Why? Because he's the man at the welterweight division. So as he's deciding to fight someone, okay, he has his options. He has Errol Spence. He has Terrence Crawford. And guess what? Another option came to mind, okay? Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao was an option for Keith Thurman at that time, okay? So and here's the shit that I don't get, right? All these other dudes are trying to fight Manny Pacquiao right now. Terrence Crawford's trying to fight Manny Pacquiao. Errol Spence is trying to fight Manny Pacquiao. So everyone right now is trying to fight Manny Pacquiao. So why would it be so hard for people to understand Keith Thurman wanting to fight Manny Pacquiao at a time where he had options? I don't get why that's so hard for people to understand. Nevertheless, he fights Manny Pacquiao. He loses to Manny Pacquiao. This is where we are right now with Keith Thurman. Boom. Errol Spence, after discovering Keith Thurman lost to Manny Pacquiao, moves on with his career as he should have done, or as he should do. He moves on and he fights, I believe it was Carlos Alcampo after that IBF for his first defense. And then after that, he does a pay-per-view with Mikey Garcia, a dude coming up 2 weight classes. And then he fights Sean Porter. Okay, Sean Porter at the time picked up the WBC belt by fighting Ugas. Okay, so he fights Sean Porter. He unifies the IBF and WBC belts. Then he fights Danny Garcia. Okay, and this is where we are now. This is where we are now. While this is going on, Terrence Crawford fights Amir Khan, Kell Brook, and Jose Benavidez. All right, cool. So now this is where we are now. Okay. Like I said, in order to properly discuss what the fuck was going on, what the fuck is going on today, we have to rehash what the fuck happened at the beginning of this mess. Okay. The very beginning, the Mayweather era. Okay. All right. So now the boxing fans everywhere, we want to fight. Okay. We want the fight. We want Errol Spence. We want Terrence Crawford in the ring. There's a whole issue right now over this 60-40 thing. Okay. And here's the thing. My philosophy on fights like this is a fight like this would be considered a legacy fight. All right. A fight like this would be considered a legacy fight. And in my eyes, legacy fights are fights that are equally opportunistic for both fighters. Equally opportunistic for both fighters. All right. So what does that mean? That means it's just as beneficial for Errol Spence to fight Terrence Crawford as it is for Terrence Crawford to fight Errol Spence. Here's where people get it fucked up. Okay. Here's where people get it fucked up. People get it fucked up because they look at the numbers for Errol Spence and they look at the numbers for Terrence Crawford and they say, well, the numbers for Errol Spence are more than what they are for Terrence Crawford. I don't know how accurate that is. I'm going by people, what they say, and based on other videos that I've heard on the subject. But this is how people determine how money is to be distributed. But the fact of the matter is, money by itself doesn't totally paint the picture of how splits should go. Okay? The name of the game when you're trying to tell somebody what kind of split they can take on a fight, the name of the game is leverage, ladies and gentlemen. If you never heard that word, look it the fuck up. Leverage. And leverage is more than monetary, okay? Leverage can mean a bunch of different things, okay? All right, we're not going to go so down the rabbit hole when it comes to the word leverage, but for the sake of boxing, leverage also equates to accomplishments, okay? Accolades also equate to leverage, meaning if Terrence Crawford is an undefeated three-weight division world champion, under no shape or form is he obligated, or does his career demand for him to take a lesser split to Errol Spence. I don't know how many people is gonna catch this shit as I'm spitting it. But let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. Let's use phone companies to help you understand what the fuck I'm talking about. Let's say T-Mobile and AT&T wanted to partner on a project. Okay? AT&T is probably the more profitable company, but T-Mobile does all right on its own. You know what I mean? T-Mobile is also a $1 billion company. AT&T probably does a little bit better, but T-Mobile is also a $1 billion company. So let's say AT&T wants to get into bed with T-Mobile on a project, but AT&T is saying that because they make more money or because they're the more profitable company, they need to bring home more of the of the money. Well, here's the thing. T-Mobile don't need AT&T. T-Mobile don't need AT&T. What the fuck T-Mobile need AT&T for? Why does T-Mobile need AT&T? Why does T-Mobile need AT&T? To what benefit does it serve for T-Mobile to partner with AT&T? Now, if T-Mobile stood to make a whole lot of money with minimal effort, like if it was a situation that allowed T-Mobile to make money without having to do much, and they could make more money than they ever saw, or they could make money doing something that they couldn't do by themselves, it'd be a different story. But because T-Mobile's also a phone company, also very successful, also a $1 billion company, T-Mobile can move however the fuck T-Mobile want to move. T-Mobile can move however the fuck it want to move. So what are we really talking about here? Because your numbers aren't better, that doesn't necessarily mean you have the leverage to force someone to take a reduction in pay. That doesn't necessarily mean you have the leverage, Earl Spence, because your numbers may be better. That doesn't necessarily mean that. That doesn't necessarily mean shit. Because even with your better numbers, Terrence Crawford doesn't have to fight you. Now, granted, you don't have to fight him, but the fight doesn't have to happen. And he would be fine. You would be fine too, but he would be fine. But the thing about it is, what you both don't understand is that this fight not happening is detrimentally harmful to both of your careers. More so yours than his. Why do I say that? Boxing fans ain't stupid. Real boxing fans, we're not dumb. We know how to use Google. We know how to look for shit. We know how to figure out who the best fighters in history were. And when it's all said and done, no one is going to look back and say, well, Earl Spence was an all-time great. What the fuck fight has Earl Spence had in his career at this point that would allow anybody to be able to say some shit like that? Is what I want to know. What in the fuck has Earl Spence done in his career to be able to make a statement like that? And that's nothing. Earl Spence needs fighters on his resume like Terrence Crawford. So here's the other thing about leverage. Well, hold on. Let me just make this quick point. Excuse me. Terrence Crawford, this is one thing that I don't hear anyone talk about. Terrence Crawford has several undefeated fighters on his resume that he's beat. He's beat maybe, what was it, three Olympic gold medalists? 3 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 Olym Okay, and Gamboa and Felix Diaz and one more that I can't think of right now. The accolades for Terrence Crawford at this point in his career are leaps and bounds above Errol Spence's at this point. So to me, it's like you're shooting yourself in the foot legacy-wise by not doing everything in your power to make this fight happen. Earl. You're shooting yourself in the foot. I say right now, man, the whole welterweight division is a little sickening, man. It's a little sickening. It's a little sickening, you know, because you have that shit going on right now with Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, and then in the woodworks you got all kind of other bullshit going on with all the other fighters in the division. So recently, news came out that both Sean Porter and Keith Thurman contacted Bob Arum in hopes to get a fight with Terrence Crawford, which is dope. I'm happy to hear that both fighters are interested in fighting Terrence Crawford. But both fighters are very unhappy with the offer Bob Arum gave them. And here's the thing: no man can tell you what your value is, but I need you niggas to really understand something. Okay, I really need y'all to understand something. Bob Arum he said something in one of his interviews. He said he doesn't want to lose money on these fights. And he also said that if any one of them, Al Heyman included, if any one of them wanted to put up the money for the fight, he would be more than happy to let them put up the money for the fight and then buy a ticket for front row for the seat front row at the fight. So Bob Arum sounds like he's more than willing to let one of these other niggas front the expense for the fight in order to make the fight happen. So my thing is, you fighters are out here, okay? You're demanding these huge purses. Cool, fine. Like I said, nobody can tell you what your value is. But at the same time, you can't bet on yourself. You can't bet on yourself. If you can't bet on yourself, how do you expect anyone else to bet on you? Is what I want to know. How can you be mad at Bob Arum when you yourself aren't willing to put up the money in order to make these fights happen? I don't get that. You want Bob Arum to put up the money, but you're not willing to do it? You need somebody to pay you? Why can't Keith Thurman say, all right, well, look, I want to do a fight with Terrence Crawford. I'll put up the money, okay? But I'm gonna see X amount of pay-per-views or whatever. All the back end money is for me. You know what I'm saying? And I'll pay Terrence Crawford X amount, or you pay Terrence Crawford X amount, and we'll split the back end. Why can't any of these fighters do that? Why can't they bet on themselves? Why can't they step into that role? Especially when you have somebody like Bob Arum telling you that he's losing money on fights because he feels like the value of the fight is not what the fuck y'all talking about. You niggas sit around in a round table talking about you want 5 million and 6 million and 7 million. Cool. You can want whatever the fuck you want them on. But in Bob Arum's mind, he doesn't believe that the fight is worth that. That's the key thing that these motherfuckers are not understanding. Bob Arum doesn't feel like the fight is worth that. Therefore, by him paying you X amount, he feels as though he's not going to get a return on his investment. Business 101. Some of you niggas need to go the fuck back to school. Some of you niggas need to take a business class. If you put up 1 million, you want to make at least 1,100,000. Okay, that way you netted something that you could put into your. But Bob Arum is talking about he's losing money on these investments. So what the fuck you want Bob Arum to do? You want him to make a charitable donation to you motherfuckers? You want him to pull money out of his pocket in order to front the shit? When he knows in his mind, he knows he's not going to get a return on his investment? No. None of you wouldn't ask nobody else on earth to do no bullshit like that. You wouldn't ask nobody else on earth to do no bullshit like that. Take a loss. Hey man, can you take a loss? Can you take a loss? The fuck is you talking about? No, I'm not gonna take a loss. Are you crazy? Why the fuck would I knowingly take a loss? Why the fuck would I overpay for something? Would you buy a house for $1 million when it was only worth $500,000? No, the fuck you wouldn't. That would be some stupid ass shit. That would be ridiculous for you to do. Nobody's gonna pay for something more than what it's worth, unless you bet it on yourself, because now you're putting the value on yourself. Keith Thurman, why can't you put up the money in order to make the fight happen? You should have made enough money at this point in your career to be able to do shit like that. Sean Porter, why can't you put up the money in order to make the fight happen? You should have made enough money in your career to be able to do that. Or you should have enough people in your circle, people that have money, to be able to front you the money, or y'all get some sort of investment group going where y'all can make these fights happen. But don't expect somebody to pay you what the fuck you believe you worth. Don't expect somebody to be able to take risks on you and take losses for you. You take losses for your motherfucking self. If you believe it's $100 million fight, then you should be able to invest $50 million into it in order to get your 50 back. But don't expect somebody who believe that the fight is only worth 10 million to invest 20 million in a fucking fight. Get the fuck off earth. You wouldn't ask no other nigga on earth to do no bullshit like that, period. So it sounds stupid when you guys say fuck Bob Arum, but at the same time, your dumbass ain't willing to do the shit yourself. You're not willing to step into the ring, take on the financial burden of the circumstance, and make the fucking fight happen, period. Now, Bob Arum is full of shit when he said that, and he's not actually willing to allow anyone to come into the picture and do that. That's another thing. But Bob Arum is literally saying, if you want to fucking shoulder, if you want to put up the money for the fight and you want to do the shit, you're more than willing to do that and pay yourself whatever the fuck you want to pay yourself. Or if Al Heyman want to put up the money and do the shit, but apparently Al Heyman doesn't want to do the shit either. And let's talk about Al Heyman for a second, because a lot of you niggas out there believe Al Heyman is God. A lot of you niggas think Al Heyman is fucking Christ incarnate. And here's the thing, I love Al Heyman. Al Heyman is that nigga. He done made a lot of motherfucking shit happen. I love Al Heyman. But the fact of the matter is, okay, Al Heyman got you niggas fighting once every other year and shit. Because you niggas get paid, okay? You sit on your ass and then you do not make shit happen. You can't fight anywhere else. You wait on Al Heyman to make these fights. Al Heyman got you niggas spoiled. That's the realness. Al Heyman got you niggas spoiled. You ever have a child and you give them every fucking thing? You give them everything. But while you giving them everything, they don't know how to do shit for themselves. They don't know how to do shit for themselves. They wait on you to do everything. And maybe that's how Al wanted. I don't know. It doesn't seem to me like that's the issue, because you niggas are going to Bob Arum trying to make the fight. You going to Bob Arum demanding for these fights to happen. So explain that to me. Why the fuck would you, why are you, if Bob is, hey, y'all can put up the money, why not? Why can't you get a group of investors and get that shit done? You know what I'm saying? It's all bullshit to me. It's all some bull ass shit. You know what I mean? You know, at the end of the day, it's like this, man. All you niggas, All of you. Keith Thurman, Earl Spence, Terrence Crawford. You niggas are great fighters. Sean Porter, all y'all are really good fighters. But the fact of the matter is, no one has an opportunity to see your greatness. Know about your greatness. Your greatness is defined by your peers. Your peers define your greatness in the sense that we want to know who the best is, and we don't. I don't know if the best is Keith. I don't know if it's Terrence. I don't know if it's Earl. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Because them niggas ain't fight. And them niggas won't fight because they waiting on a promoter to do every fucking thing for them. They waiting on Bob Arum to give them $5 million or $6 million or whatever the fuck they think they should get for fighting Terrence Crawford. They waiting on Earl Spence, who's only interested in fighting Manny Pacquiao at this point. Because according to Earl Spence, he doesn't want to fight Keith Thurman because Keith Thurman did him wrong. Keith Thurman hurt his feelings. Keith Thurman talked bad about him. Keith Thurman didn't fight him. When he said he would, when he said that he was going to fight him, he didn't fight him. So he doesn't want to fight Keith Thurman. He doesn't want to fight him. That's how that shit sound. For real. That's how that shit sound to me. When you say you don't want to fight Keith Thurman because he's not a priority, he ain't fight you when you was calling him out, so now you don't want to fight him. Nigga, that's still a big fight in the division. Keith Thurman is still one of the best welterweights in the division. That's a top fight for you. That should be on your hit list. Don't sit there and tell me because the nigga hurt your feelings that you don't want to fight the nigga no more. That you don't think that you should fight the nigga, even though the nigga's a top welterweight in the division. If Earl Spence moves up in weight or moves down in weight or he leaves the sport or whatever the fuck he does, if he leaves without fighting Keith Thurman, he ducked him. I don't give a fuck what none of y'all niggas say. Because at no point did Keith Thurman ever say he's not going to fight Earl Spence. Did he never say that? I don't give a fuck what the reasoning is you niggas want to come up with. That nigga chose to fight Pacquiao and hasn't fought since. Okay, but Earl Spence is verbally telling you he does not want to fight Keith Thurman. Motherfucker, you're ducking. I don't care what your reasons are. You're ducking. I don't care if he hurts your feelings. It's a duck. Period. It's a duck. And you niggas that went so hard on Keith Thurman, you need to take that same energy and you need to direct it towards Earl Spence because Earl Spence would be indeed ducking Keith Thurman at that point. Period. At the end of the day, man, it's like this. It's like this. If you niggas were really smart, you would prioritize the legacy fights. Either that or you would do the opposite. What do I mean when I say that? Earl Spence don't want to fight Terrence Crawford. Keith Thurman don't want to fight Terrence Crawford. Sean Porter don't want to fight Terrence Crawford. Well, if I'm Terrence Crawford, I'm lining up all bums. Fuck it. And I'm talking shit during press conferences. I'm doing a bunch of extra shit. I'm gonna do in order to sell these fights, in order to build my name up more. And I do it like that. Either that or I fight the legacy fights. I focus on the legacy fights, which is what Terrence Crawford is doing right now. I focus on fighting Earl Spence. I focus on fighting Keith Thurman. But the thing about it is, if one's not working, you got to do the other. You got to do the other one, because anything else is just a setup. That's all. Anything else is just a setup. Because if you fight the people who are pretty good, like what they want you to do, like they want Sean Porter to fight Terrence Crawford. Okay, they want that fight. That would be a good fight. I would love to see that fight. It's a setup, though. It's a setup. Why is it a setup? If Terrence Crawford stops Sean Porter, who gives him real credit for it? Let me say that shit again. If Terrence Crawford stops Sean Porter, who gives him any real credit for it? Sure, some of you niggas will say, well, Sean Porter's never been stopped before. That's impressive. But most of you niggas will say Sean Porter has 3 losses. Sean Porter didn't have a belt. Why did he even fight him? Sean Porter was coming off a loss when they fought. I know how this shit go. I know exactly how this shit go. I know exactly how this shit go. You niggas ain't fooling nobody. If Terrence Crawford stopped Danny Garcia, how many people would give him credit for that? I'm waiting. Fucking nobody. Fucking nobody would give him credit for it. What would you niggas say? Danny Garcia didn't have no belt. Danny Garcia was coming off a loss. Danny Garcia wasn't that good. He lost every time he stepped up. That's what you niggas would say. What would Terrence Crawford get out of it? Absolutely fucking nothing. And then what if Terrence Crawford lost to one of those dudes? Because at the end of the day, those people are very good. Sean Porter's a good fighter. Danny Garcia is a good fighter. He could lose to one of them dudes. So if he loses to Danny Garcia and Sean Porter, well, you fucked up. Now you got to start from scratch. Well, now it's really 60-40. Now it's really 60-40. 70-30 or whatever I give them. That's what that nigga Earl said. 60-40, 70-30 or whatever I give them. Fuck out of here, man. Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. Look. It's been a long time since I've been on. It was good chopping it up. Again, I'm going to be doing these live streams every week, 6 p.m. on Tuesdays, all right? I'm going to make that motherfucker sharp. We're going to try to iron out them technical difficulties. And also be doing late night boxing talk on Fridays at 11, all right? So you niggas that like to stay up and beat your meat, go ahead and pause on that shit, nigga, and turn your boy on, and let's talk some fucking boxing. And, you know, we're going to get this shit popping, man. We're trying to get back into this shit, man, for the 2021. But in 2021, we want to talk boxing, man. I'm back in it. I'm gonna be more consistent with this shit, man. I'm gonna keep this shit plugging along, man. But until next time, I'm holla at y'all. Peace.